Welcome to the Community Collective Podcast, a flip-flop agent production in collaboration with the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce. I am your host, Johnny B. Good. Welcome to today's episode of the Community Collective Podcast. Sadly, I am out and about trying to help my clients buy and sell homes. So thank goodness for my partner in crime, my co-host, Mr. Travis Howell. He's going to be taking the reins today as he speaks with Mr. Kevin Brown, the superintendent for Davison Community Schools. He's going to talk about his past, his present, the future, all the things that are going on with the Davison Community Schools. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Community Collective. Today, we are joined by the Davison Community Schools Superintendent, Kevin Brown. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Travis. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I know that you are busy and always have something going on, so we appreciate you just spending some time with us, and that way we can get to know you a little bit more and help our residents learn more about Davison Community Schools.
Sounds good.
So one of the questions we always really like to start off with is, Kevin, what is your background?
Well, I have a rather interesting background. I grew up in Flint, went to Powers Catholic High School. Please don't hold that against me. Went to Western Michigan University for my undergrad. Never even considered education, never even gave it a thought. My final year at Western, I had a roommate who was in college education. I needed one course to get the credits I needed to graduate. I took an education course, and as luck would have it, it turned out to be the toughest course I had in my final semester of college. But I graduated with a degree in science, biology, and chemistry, and really didn't know what I was going to do with that degree. A girl I was dating at the time, her mom mentioned to me that the little parochial school in town in Swartz Creek, Michigan, was looking for a science teacher. I was fresh out of college. I didn't really have a lot of prospects. I had been offered a job working in a lab that didn't really appeal to me. So I went and I interviewed for the position with Sister Fabia, who was the principal at St. Mary Queen of Angels School back in 1984. And to my amazement, she hired me on the spot. And that fall, I started teaching 4th through 8th grade science in this little Catholic school in Swartz Creek, Michigan. And I just loved it. I think of it as kind of divine intervention. It was, I didn't really find education. Education came and found me. And I loved the kids. I loved the relationships. I did some coaching and that kind of thing, and just realized that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went back to school and I got my teaching credential. And I spent 5 years at St. Mary Queen of Angels. And then I was hired by actually a former Davison principal, Mr. Lance Harper, who is the principal at Holy Redeemer School in Burton. And Lance hired me to teach science and math and religion to 7th and 8th grade students at Holy Redeemer. And I did that for about 5 years. And then about that time, I was looking at getting married and starting a family. So I decided that I would look around and see what might be available in the public education. And in 1994, I was hired by Davison, and I've been here ever since. It's been a wonderful school, a wonderful opportunity, a great place to work for the last 29 years. I spent 8 years as a high school science teacher. And I'll never forget one day, it was during the summer, and I got a phone call from then Superintendent Clay Perkins. And Clay said, Kevin, I'd like you to go through the administrative academy. The Genesee Intermediate School District has this academy for new administrators, and I'd like you to take part of that. And I remember telling Clay, I said, Clay, I'm not interested in that. I love teaching. I loved the kids. I was coaching varsity football and freshman basketball and helping out in some other things as well. And I had no desire to be an administrator, none whatsoever. And I told him, I said, I'm just not interested. So basically Clay said, well, humor me, just do it for me. It's one day a week and blah, blah, blah. And here we are, that was, well, I'm not even sure when that was, to be honest with you, but I then went on to become the assistant principal at Davison High School. I spent 4 years doing that, became the high school principal, spent 4 years doing that. And then Eric Liskey hired me to be his assistant superintendent back in 2010. And now I'm sitting in the big chair and have been for the last 4 years. So that's kind of my history and my background. Never really saw myself as an educator until I had that first experience at that little Catholic school in Swartz Creek.
Oh, wow. I admire anyone in education or that works in a school building so much. I grew up, my mom is a retired teacher. She taught for 30 something years in a different state. So I grew up as a teacher's kid. And then I married a teacher who teaches developmental kindergarten. For 1 year, I was a substitute teacher. And I tell you, I had never been so exhausted in my life. I loved it, but it's so much work, so much commitment goes into that. So anyone that's in education, it's amazing to see what they do and how much influence and encouragement that they have with so many students and kids from a wide variety of backgrounds. So I know it's amazing when I talk to teachers, and I live with one, just to hear what they experience, but how much they love it no matter what goes on. So it is an example right there. I mean, you said 29 years of education, Kevin. I mean, that shows that you had a passion for what you're doing and you continue still to enjoy it.
Yeah, I 29 years with Davison, actually 39 years
39.
in education, because I did have those 10 years in the parochial system.
I guess I needed someone to help me with a little bit of math there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, good. Oh man, it is. So in all those roles that you had over the years, was there one that really stuck out to you that you really learned the most from and gained the most experience from to prepare you for being a superintendent?
Well, it's funny. I tell people all the time, the best training I think that I ever had to become an administrator was as an athletic coach. I think coaching, because you deal with a wide variety of people, you have to make a lot of tough decisions, and that was great preparation for becoming a school administrator. I think the administrative roles, I think, that prepared me the most for the superintendency was probably the role of the high school principal. It's a highly visible position. You're running a large building. So it's similar to running an entire district, but just on a little bit smaller scale. And you wear a lot of different hats. And then, 9 years as Mr. Liskey's assistant superintendent was a tremendous learning experience for me. I think Eric really helped to develop me into the person I am today. And he's, a big reason that I've been able to be successful, for the last few years in this role. So I think those two positions, more than anything else, the high school principal and the assistant superintendent, are what really prepared me for the superintendency.
Yeah, and then you know what, Kevin, I agree. I think that Davidson Schools has a long history, but you have teachers and staff that want to come back to our district. Even if they go away for years, they come back. And I mean, myself, we have two children in Davidson Schools, and we have been so happy with it. They love it. And I think that is a sign that Davidson Schools has a great team that if my kids are saying, I love school, I want to be in school, I want to see my friends, and we as parents feel really good that we can reach out to anyone at Davidson Schools if we have a question about something that we don't understand or that we want to learn more about. There's always someone that's willing to take some time to talk to us, to share information with us, and we appreciate that as parents. So you guys, Davidson Schools has really done a great job putting together teams and staff and just everybody that wants to make our community such a great place to live.
Well, and you know, Travis, it's funny you say that because it's really not just the schools. It really is the community. You know, Matt Loban, who is the incoming superintendent, who will replace me, is a former student of mine. I had Matt when he was just a sophomore in high school in an honors biology class. And we just hired another gal from Lapeer, Kayla Bennett, who's going to be taking over as an assistant principal at the middle school, who was also a student of mine. And I mean, it's because we live in such a great community here. The Davidson community is unlike most other communities that I've really been a part of. I used to describe it, and I still do, as a fairly large school system or a fairly large community with a real small town feel, and that's unique. You know, you have Main Street, you have, you know, the parades and the events, and the community is so very supportive, and it's pretty close knit for the size of our district, and you know, and the kids that go through school here, they want to come back and they want to give back, and this is where they want to raise their children. So there's a lot to be said about this district and this community because it is so supportive of the schools.
I moved up to Michigan from a different state. My wife went to a different school district, but when we were looking to start a family, we knew we wanted that community feel. I grew up in a small town, and Davidson has been that great fit. And I completely agree with you that it is. It's a community as a whole working together, and the schools play a big role in that. And I think that is something that parents want their kids to be part of. Kevin, that kind of leads us into another question. You talk about, you know, people that you've had as students, that the history of Davidson, but right now we have a big, you know, investment in the future of our community and of our students. Are you able to give us like a little bit of a brief update on some of the construction projects that we see going on, or ones that we should expect to see coming up sometime soon?
Sure. You know, it's we passed our bond back in the spring of, or the late winter, March 10th of 2020, and you know, since then we have done 50, at least. I did an article with Gary Gould a couple weeks ago, and at that point I went through and I reviewed all of the different projects we had done, and we had done 50 different projects over the course of the last almost 3 years now, which is really amazing when you think about it. You know, for years and years and years, schools in Michigan were underfunded, and it was very, very hard for schools to maintain top-notch facilities without passing these types of facility bonds. And so when we went to the voters back in 2020, you know, we talked about three basic areas: critical needs, technology, and safety. And the vast majority of the projects we have done have been in those three areas. So we've already done a tremendous amount of work, maintenance and upkeep, and some new construction and things like that, to keep the district going in top-notch condition. Some of the things that we're working on right now, I mean, the big one is the new auditorium. We broke ground on that back in the fall of 2021. And things were clipping along pretty good. We ran into some supply chain issues and some labor force issues. And, like everybody else, you and being in the business community know better than most that, the supply chain issues and the material shortages and labor shortages that we've all been encountering are real. And I'm very disappointed that project is not going to finish up during my tenure. I had really hoped to see that through. But when it is done, I think people are going to be very impressed, and it's going to be worth waiting for. Some of the other projects we've got going on right now, we're looking this summer to put secure entry vestibules at Gates and Seipel Elementary. All of our schools are going to get these secure entry vestibules. It's a safety feature. We already have single point of entrance at all of our school buildings. We have cameras and buzzer systems. But now we're going to enhance that even further by creating secure entry vestibules so that when someone does get buzzed into the school, they're forced into a vestibule and then directly into the main office before they can gain access to the rest of the school. So it's just an increased safety feature. And we're going to do that with all of our schools. We're starting at Seipel and Gates this summer with those projects. We've also got some more mechanical work that's going to be going on over at Hahn. We replaced the boilers at Hahn. That was, I think it was back in the summer of 2021. Don't hold me to that though. We've done so many projects.
Oh,
Keeping them all straight and when they
keeping
happen.
up with 50
the
projects and
challenge.
even more. I don't know how you keep up with them all. I will say, I was really hoping the auditorium would be open up for my acting debut with DC's upcoming play, but I guess I'll have to keep practicing, get ready for it in a couple of years, just to hop on that stage there.
Yeah, I too had hoped. I mean, the original plan was that it would be done this year, and I had hoped it would be done in time to do the musical in it. But you just can't predict how things like material shortages and workforce issues and then supply chain issues, those all took their toll. So we're a little bit behind schedule there, but we do expect completion of that probably sometime next fall. And like I say, when it finally gets done, it's going to be amazing. And I don't know if everybody realizes it, but it's not just a new auditorium. I mean, we're going to have a new band room, a new choir room. We're going to have a brand new state-of-the-art DTV studio. We're going to have a brand new west entrance with one of those secure entry vestibules, which will then become the main entrance to the building. We're redoing a whole lot of things within that space, in addition to just building that new auditorium. So it's a huge project.
Well, as a parent of kids who are growing up in Davidson schools, I love the focus that the schools are putting on safety and seeing that commitment to making sure that not only are the teachers and staff safe, but our students are safe. But then also that you guys are offering through all these projects stuff for every student's interest, which is great right there. I think that is an exciting thing to see. And I myself, as a resident, can't wait to just see what it looks like, enjoy it, and hear my kids talk about it in the years to come. So Kevin, one of those things that leads us into it is all these projects are going on. What do you, and you've covered it a little bit, what do you enjoy most about the Davidson community yourself?
Wow, that's a pretty big question. I've been here at the schools for 29 years, and the thing that's always stood out to me, Travis, is the amount of community support that we receive as a school district. I think back to my days of coaching football, and I mean, we fill up that stadium almost every Friday night. People want to come out, they want to watch the teams play. But we also have sellouts for our musicals and our concerts. Um, and anytime we need help, the community always steps up and they're willing to help us. Uh, I go back to that. We're a fairly large district. We're the second largest district in Genesee County. Only Grand Blanc is bigger than Davison. But we have a very small town feel. It's that neighbor helps neighbor. It's that support. Several years ago, as you know, we started that Common Ground organization. With that was really the brainchild of Chris Graff and a couple others. And it's just amazing to me that we have so many different service organizations, so many different businesses, all of our municipalities. It's like we're all in it together. We help one another, we work together, we have tremendous relationships with our police and our governmental municipalities, our businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, and the different service organizations, from Kiwanis to Optimist, Outreach East. I mean, there's something special about Davison, and I'm not even sure people who have not been outside of Davison really understand how special that is. A lot of, you look at some other school districts, like Kearsley. Well, there isn't really a town of Kearsley or Carmen Ainsworth. There are not a lot of places where you still get that connection, that support, and that hometown atmosphere, especially in such a large school district. So
Yeah.
I think the community support and the cooperation and the collegiality that exists in this community are second to none, and it's not something that you really see in a lot of other places.
Right. So this leads us into one of my favorite questions, and I think a lot of our listeners enjoy it. With all this that you do and all that you have to keep track of, what do you do in your free time just to relax and to just kind of breathe for a few minutes? So what do you enjoy to relax?
Well, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love to hunt and fish. I find peace in the outdoors. And that's basically what I do. I love archery and I bow hunt in the fall, and I like to fish and I steelhead fish in the spring. And that's how my escape is getting outside, getting into the outdoors and just enjoying the natural environment. Um, that's really how I like to spend my free time.
That sounds amazing. As I've moved to Michigan years ago, I've really learned how much our state has to offer, especially someone who wants to relax in the outdoors. You get the perfect playground to go into, Kevin. It sounds like that is a nice way just to get away and just relax and enjoy everything that Michigan has to offer for you. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today on the Community Collective. You shared so much information that I think is valuable, not only to me, but to, I think, all of our residents, just to have information, to be knowledgeable, just to know what's going on. And thank you so much for all that you do with our schools and for our students.
Well, thank you, Travis. I enjoyed the time.
Well, enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you very soon, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
It really is amazing to know that we have somebody in the community that is so passionate about teaching and leading our kids and our schools. Man, oh man, 40 years in teaching. I think I did 4 months during COVID, and I have no idea how somebody can do 40 years. We are different people, and I am so thankful for those people that are in those positions that are taking care of our children and taking care of our schools and hopefully leading us all down the right path as far as education and, our future generations go. Man, oh man. Wow, what a great episode. Thank you so much to Travis for taking the reins today. Thanks so much to Mr. Kevin Brown for cluing us in on both the history behind his work towards becoming superintendent, as well as all the things that are happening around the Davison area and our Davison community schools. We just can't beat it. I know that there was definitely some mixed feelings as far as the millage went back a few years ago when that was voted on, but it passed, and that is in the past. So at this point, I'm just looking forward to seeing the improvements in the Davison Community School District. And we definitely are not lacking for any of those improvements. So, wow, what a great episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys have anyone you want us to interview, any issues you want us to discuss, you can reach us very, very easily. You can email us podcast@flipflopagent.com. Shoot us an email. We would love to discuss the issues that are important to you. So drop us a line. Outside of that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Community Collective Podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Bye-bye.